Flaming Blackbird singing in the dead of night. No guitar today, just sleep.
Hi guys, it's Paul from Crowborough Guitar Tuition and welcome back to another video lesson. Apologies that it's been so long since I did an actual kind of video lesson. It really has been a matter of time and I suppose partly laziness. You know, when push comes to shove and you've only got a short amount of time to do something, you think, should I do a reaction video which is quick, or do I go through the process of learning a track and making sure it's right and teaching it, and then all the editing that comes with it. So apologies for that. But today we're looking at Blackbird by the Beatles, and it's a beautiful little tune, really lovely piece to play. It feels great to play and it sounds brilliant. So let's delve into it as quickly as we can. Oh, and worth saying, throughout the video I'm going to be using what I kind of call my my battleship numbering for saying where I am on the neck. So for example, if I say A5, I'm talking about the 5th fret on the A string. So, you know, first finger on A5. That kind of just helps speed up the process, I find, as we go around. So let's look at Blackbird by the Beatles. Now, there are really only 2 or 3 sections to this song that kind of get repeated round and round. It's 2 or 3 depending on how you kind of divide it up in your mind. But for me, kind of maybe 3 or so. So let's get into it as soon as we can. So we're starting off. What we're doing is we're going to be finger picking. And we're starting off by using our thumb down at on the E string. So it's going to be E3 with our middle finger. But also we're going to be plucking the open B string with, well, I'm using my middle finger here. You don't have to use the same fingers as me, but I'm going to use my middle finger. So I've got those notes. And then I'm using my first finger to pluck the open G string. Now throughout this whole song, that open G string is going to be a note that you're going to continually be kind of droning throughout most of the song, kind of pedaling a pedal tone underneath. Okay. Then we go on to an open A with our thumb, and I'm using my middle finger on the B string, so B1 with my first finger up here. And then I'm using my first finger on A2 and my middle finger at B3. And always going to that open G after each one. And then we're going to go all the way up the neck to A10 and B12, so use your first and third fingers in terms of your left hand here. So in terms of what we're doing there, we've got a pinch with the 2 notes, then we've got so the pinch, G string, B string, A string, B string, G string. So if I go slow, hopefully you can work out. Okay, so remember there's always that open G. If I'm not telling you what that note is, it's just always that open G. Okay, so really that's one section that keeps getting repeated round and round. So hopefully you've got the hang of that. Then we've got this section. Or slight variations on. Now let's break that down. So what we've got there is C3, the note is C, A3, and with our first finger and our third finger at B5, and always to that G. So we've got that shape there, and then we're going to take our middle finger and plonk it on A4 and move our first finger over to the high E string on E3. Always returning to that open G. And then we're going to do exactly the same thing but 2 frets higher. Okay. Then we're going to take fingers 2 and 3, and we're going to put our second finger at A7 and our third finger at B8. And now what I do here is I keep my first finger at the 7th fret, sorry, 6th fret on the A string, A6, ready, because in a moment I'm going to lift off my middle finger to go down to that note. So we're using that same pattern that we did when we went up to the, in the intro. So we have, so what we're doing there is we're starting on the 7 and the 8, on the A7, B8, and then we're moving down to A6, B8. Then we're going to jump down, just checking out I actually hit record. Then we're going to jump down 1 fret to A5 and B7. There we go. And we're just going to pinch those 2 notes together. And there's a G in between. Now it's a bit of a jump. What we're going to do is we're going to go down to A4 and E3 and pinch those together. So I'll use my middle finger on my first finger. So I start this one here. That's first and third fingers. Okay. And always that open G. And then we're going to have A3 and B5. So again, with that little kind of pattern we've done. Then take your middle finger and put it on B4. Keep your first finger where it is. Take that position and shift it down 1 fret. Now we're going to take our first finger off, so we've got the open A string. I'm going to take the take your middle finger down 1 fret to the 2nd fret on the B, B2. And then put your first finger at the 1st fret on B1, and this time we're going to move our thumb over to the A string, so we're doing the the D string, so an open D and B1, and then we're back to those opening notes we had in the intro, the E3 and the B string, open B. So if we go slow, you should have something like. Then we've got this little tagged section, which isn't there every time, but goes like this. So we're going to A3 and B5 with our first and third fingers. So open G in between. So what we're doing there is we're taking that first finger then down to A2 and our middle finger to B3. Then down to B2 and open A. So we're back into that little pattern. Down to the 1st fret, B1, and then the open D string. And then down to our G again on the bottom string. then you're back into that section there. So you've kind of got those sections going on. Now that will repeat round a few times. Then you've got this section that goes. Okay, so all we're doing there is we're going up to, taking our first finger up to A8 and our third finger up to B10 with the open G after it. So then we're going down to A7 and B8, so use your first and middle fingers. And then you're going to take that same shape and just move it down 2 frets to the A5 and B6. Then we're going to go down to A3 and B5. Take that same shape down 2 frets to A1 and B3. So then you just take it back up 2 frets. And always, if you're hearing that bit, if you're hearing the kind of, it's always that same pattern we did at the beginning. It's just the same fingers. So that's the first time round. Second time round, slightly different. So we go down then to the right to the bottom. So when we get down to, we don't go back up. We go down to open A string and B2, so use your middle finger. Then down to open D string and B1. So those 3 sections will get you through most of the song. There are just 1 or 2 other little bits to be aware of. So when the song dies out entirely, it then comes back in. Back into that. So what we've got there is a slide down. You can slide from where you want. Then we've got our E3 and open B. A string, open A and B1. A2, B3, up to A3 and B5. Back down to A2 and B3. Open A and B. Sorry, I said there should be A2 and B3. Then down to open A and B2. And then we go to D, open D and B1. And then we're back into. So you've got. So have a listen to it, because you'll be able to hear it as you go. There are a few of these sections where I still get confused when I come out of bits. Am I coming down to or am I coming into a kind of without any gap? You just have to listen to the song, get more familiar with it. The only other bit really is the outro, where you get mostly a repetition of this kind of. Now what I'm doing there probably isn't exactly the same as on the record, but I kind of like to play it like that. So really you're just doing those bits we've already done. And then you can finish on a G chord there with your fingers at the 3rd fret on the B and the E string. So hopefully we've kind of covered all the parts there. Sorry, it's been a little bit quick to kind of rush through some of that. There's quite a lot to do. But once you get the patterns of it, like I say, the shapes, once the shape's under your fingers, you've only really got 3 sections to learn on the whole. And then it's just learning kind of a little bit about the structure of the song, which, as I said, even having played it lots of times, I still get a little bit confused by. And unless I'm playing against the track, I'm sure sometimes I go a little bit off. But you know what, that's okay. You can do your own version of it and put your own spin on it a bit. Just remember to kind of take it slow as you start out, get those shapes under your fingers, and before you know it, you'll be racing along. And make sure just to let that nice G note keep droning beneath it. Try not to catch it with any of your fingers. So I find for a lot of this song, particularly when I'm up in those kind of positions there, my thumb is on the back of the neck to give a nice arch under the fingers. I can get away with it a bit more down here, having my thumb round the side, but on the whole, thumb on the back works quite nicely. Great, I hope that's helpful. I hope you enjoy playing Blackbird. It's a beautiful song, and it's a really nice one to sing along to as well. And you might think, how could I ever sing along to that song? There's so much going on, you know, I can't think about singing as well. You'd be surprised that once you get the flow of it, actually singing over the top isn't that hard. And I mean, Paul McCartney does it, and clearly I think some of the bits he's doing with this hand help him to, you know, he simplifies bits here that allow him to sing over the top of it. So have a go, you might be surprised. Cool. Hope you've enjoyed that. Let me know any other songs you want to do, and I'll see you next time. Thanks very much. Bye. Hi guys, thanks for watching. For more guitar tips and video lessons, click on the subscribe button down below, and let me know in the comments what songs or video lessons you'd like to see. If you want to keep up with some of our news, you can like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter, or you can always check out our website, crowboroughguitartuition.com.